Among the options on the beer wall at Walter's Sports Bar are Annapolis IPA, Green City IPA, Raised by Wolves, and Vienna Lager. Walters is located across the street from Nationals Park.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
The 2-2 pitch. Swing a ground ball left side. That's through for a base hit for Ramirez. Nationals take the lead. Yepez scores. Ramirez delivers. The Nationals 2, the Reds 1. Ramirez doing the hip shake at first. He's had a big series. That's RBI 23. 10 since joining the Nationals. Clutch, 2-out RBI single.
Finnegan ready. He kicks and he fires, and a pitch chopped back to the mound. Finnegan leaps, he has it. He jogs toward first. He underhands it to Juan Yepez, and a curly W. And a 3-game series sweep of the Reds are all in the books here at Nationals Park.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Monday, July 22nd, 2024. Along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who was at Nationals Park. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. We now are exactly 100 games into the Nationals 2024 regular season. 100 games down, 62 games to go. And then we'll see if there are any more games after that. The Nats still are 6 games below 500, but the Nats now have won 5 of their last 6 games. Sunday afternoon, a 5-2 win over the Cincinnati Reds at Nationals Park to complete a 3-game sweep. And a hero of the game, I'm happy to say, was James Wood. The Nats for this regular season now are 47-53. So things had not been going so well for James Wood. He entered Sunday with an OPS of just .604 since the Nats on July 1st announced that they had selected the contract of Wood from AAA Rochester. Wood in the Nats 8-5 win over the Reds on Friday evening as the Nats starting left fielder and number 5 batter, 1 for 4 with a 2-run single, yes, but also 3 more strikeouts. And so Davey Martinez actually dropped Wood to the number 7 spot in the lineup as the Nats starting left fielder for each of the final 2 games in the series. Wood in the 5-4 win over the Reds on Saturday evening, 0 for 4 with a strikeout, also had a fielding error, but Wood on Sunday afternoon, 2 for 4 with a 3-run homer, also had an infield single, but the 3-run homer coming in an Nats 3-run 8th, a 2-out first pitch opposite field, 3-run homer to left field for a 5-2 Nats lead. Big home run for James Wood. A big win for the Nats. Mark, a very good weekend for the Nats to begin the post-All-Star break portion of their season.
Exactly how you would want to draw it up, Al. Sweep a team that in theory you are trying to contend with right now in a wide open wild card race. Get back to a really good starting pitching performance in this game from Jake Irvin after the rough ones prior to this, and have your future 21-year-old superstar who had, as you said, been in a bit of a rut, or at least hadn't been seeing the results that everyone wanted to see based off of what he did in the first week in the big leagues. To see him come through in that spot and really have a game-changing home run like that was just tremendous. And I felt like that at bat was the culmination of a lot of things. Number one, he had hit the ball hard all day long. 2 previous at bats, he hit the ball at least 107 miles an hour. The comebacker that he beat out for the hit, and then a line out to left field that nearly took the left fielder's glove off. And then the one at bat that he hit the ball less than 100 miles an hour, he still hit to the warning track in center field. So you had to feel good about the way he was at least making contact in this one, and eventually it would fall. He ends up facing another left-hander in Justin Wilson, a guy he had faced the night before, got a look at him, had a sense of what he had. And in a pregame conversation with Davey Martinez, Davey said to him, listen, I know you like to work the count. I know you're comfortable trying to battle back and want to take your walks. But the way they're pitching you right now, you need to be more aggressive. You see something good early, go for it. So what happened? He got a first pitch fastball over the plate, and he drove it to left field for the 3-run homer. Didn't wait to fall behind in the count the way that he has normally. And so that is a huge sign of an adjustment from a 21-year-old to be able to do that in the moment and have it pay off like that.
A great moment at Nationals Park for sure. This extra base hit, his first extra base hit since his only 2 extra base hits at the major league level in this stint in the majors. And those extra base hits came all the way back on July 6th. The Nats 14-6 win over the St. Louis Cardinals at Nationals Park. Wood in that game had a 3-run homer and a 2-run double. But to the point about the exit velocity. So he, since being promoted to the majors, has been like the king of exit velocity. He in so many of these games has had these sky-high exit velocities. And sure enough, James Wood on Sunday afternoon per StatCast had the 3 highest exit velocities in the game. You mentioned a few of them. Your bottom of the second, a 2-out infield single up the middle and off the Red starting pitcher Andrew Abbott on a 1-2 pitch. That single per StatCast at an exit velocity of 107.2 miles per hour. The homer had an exit velocity of 105.9 miles per hour. And the ball that had the highest exit velocity was a lineout, bottom of the fourth, 109 miles per hour. I know you don't get like wins for exit velocity. I get that, but we've talked about this. The process has been sound. He's hitting balls hard, just hasn't been elevating balls often, and lately has been falling behind in counts big time, resulting in all of those strikeouts. But we see the makings of a guy who can be a great batter. And of course, on Sunday afternoon, we saw what the results can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a credit to him that he is mature enough to understand, hey, you're doing a lot of things right. You don't have to make some kind of major change here. Trust that when you do hit the ball that hard, eventually that's going to pay off for you. So he did that, made the important adjustment of just being a little more aggressive early in the count. If that's where you're going to get your best pitch to hit, then go for it. You know, maybe in the minor leagues, a little easier to hit with 2 strikes. Big leagues, it's a lot harder. Yes, he wants to be patient. He wants to draw his walks, and that eventually will be the case for him. But right now, if you are making hard contact, when you make contact, give yourself the best chance at doing that. And sometimes that means being aggressive. And the other part of this all is, he's 16 games into his big league career. He has still at this point had more plate appearances against lefties than righties. And that's not just relievers late in games. He's faced a ton of left-handed starters. And it's a really odd situation to be in like that. I would imagine if you flip that and he's had, 2/3 of his at-bats against righties instead of lefties, the numbers are going to look better anyways. But I think this is good for him in the long run. All this experience he's getting already, facing lefties, having opposing managers bring in a lefty reliever just to face you, like was the case in this game, that's going to pay off in the long run. This experience that he's getting now, and to see he can have success against them, it's going to make him better when he does face lefties, and hopefully when he starts facing right-handers more frequently, which should be the case in the long run, he's already going to be better from that side anyways.
Well, it feels like the Nats this season have faced an inordinate number of left-handed starting pitchers. The general outlook is that about 3/4 of the pitchers in baseball are righties, about 25% are lefties. It feels like this season, like 2/3 of the Nats games have come against lefty pitching for whatever reason. But good to see James Wood doing as he did. Now, that 3-run homer capped a 2-out rally for the Nats in the bottom of the 8th on Sunday afternoon. And I give credit to Keibert, Ruiz, and Ildemaro Vargas for helping to fuel that rally. So Vargas, once again, was the Nats starting second baseman and number 6 batter, second consecutive game, and he, for a second consecutive game, had a multi-hit game, 2 for 3 with 2 singles and a walk. Vargas in that Nats 3-run 8th, a 2-out bunt single on a great bunt toward third base. And also in that 3-run 8th, Keibert Ruiz, I don't know if it's right to say that this is a resurgent Keibert Ruiz, but he has been better lately. And Keibert in this game as the Nats starting catcher and number 5 batter, 1 for 4 with a single, the single coming in the 3-run 8th, a 2-out single to right field. So, first 2 batters in the inning retired, and then you get things going. Ruiz with the single, Vargas with the bunt single, and then Wood with the 3-run homer.
Yeah, we've said about how Ruiz has definitely been hitting the ball a lot better. And this one wasn't as, great of contact, but he hit in the right spot and was rewarded for it. And Vargas, generally speaking, I would, and I think you feel the same way, you say, okay, you're in a tie game with 2 outs and a runner on in the 8th inning. Probably not the time to bunt. generally speaking. But I did like it in this case because he's understanding who he is, who he's facing, where the infield is lined up, and most importantly, recognizing who's behind him, who's going to be batting next, who's standing in the on-deck circle. That makes all the difference. If you're Ildemaro Vargas, you know deep down that James Wood has a better chance of driving in the go-ahead run than you do in that situation. So what's your best chance of prolonging the inning and making sure he gets up to bat? You can either stand there and hope to draw a walk and just take every borderline pitch and hope that you get 4 balls, or, hey, you know what? They're going to give me this. I'm going to put down a perfect bunt, first and second, 2 outs, and now the big guy gets to come up to bat. So I actually think there was thought process behind that, and that wasn't just a case of, oh, well, he's a weak hitter. The only hope is to go ahead and bunt. So I liked that. Obviously, it paid off, but I think there was some actual thinking behind that, why he attempted that bunt there.
And it was a picture-perfect bunt. If you're going to do that, it better work. And it did work. Vargas got on, and then Wood followed with the 3-run homer. The Nats in this game, 5 runs, 9 hits, 3 walks, 2 for 3 with runners in scoring position. The 9 hits made up of the homer, a double, and then 7 singles. The double coming from Juan Yepez, who once again gets a hit, 1 for 4 as the Nats starting first baseman and number 3 batter. A 13-game hitting streak now for Juan Yepez. And I also want to single out Jacob Young, who I thought had a really good series, especially offensively. Young in this game on Sunday afternoon, starting center fielder, number 9 batter, 0 for 2 with a walk, but the walk coming in the Nats, a 2-run third, a leadoff walk despite having been down to the count at 1.12, and then he, while on third base, drew a pickoff throw that resulted in an error by Reds third baseman Noelvi Marte, allowing Young to score to tie the game at 1. His speed can cause all kinds of problems, can induce all kinds of mistakes by opposing teams, and we saw that right there.
He can do that, but I've got to say, he was going to be out. If the Reds just complete that play, he was DOA at third base. So a little bit of a break there. But yes, you're right. You put pressure on the defense. And I think we saw the Reds did not exactly play great defense in this series. I think the Nats were able to force the issue with their running game. And that's okay when you do that. But I don't think this one was by design. This was him really kind of caught napping and should have been picked off and was fortunate to end up scoring a run as a result.
Yeah, the Reds were not impressive in this series. The Reds are not a particularly good team. This was a team that was ripe for a series victory by the Nats, and good on them for taking advantage of this. I was not impressed by watching Cincinnati, and we saw the Nats capitalize on that with the 3-game sweep. Hey, it's Al Galdi to tell you about the latest offer from Window Nation for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. Get 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. This is better than any offer that you'll hear about regarding the trade deadline. I promise you. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. Window Nation is outstanding. Every Window Nation window undergoes a 20-point inspection. Window Nation has a 96% customer satisfaction rating, and 96% of Window Nation windows installed require no follow-up service. Take advantage of this special offer for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90Nation or windownation.com. And make sure that you tell Window Nation that Al Galdi sent you.
Hey, Nats Chat, want to tell you about Mint Mobile's premium wireless package starting at $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/natschat. That's mintmobile.com/natschat. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/natschat. $45 upfront payment required. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigs on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
1-1, swinging a fly ball. Hit well left center field. Ritter's going back to the wall. This thing is gone. Home run for Dylan Cruz. Number 2 prospect in the Washington Nationals organization. That is his 4th home run in 23 AAA games, and Rochester has taken the lead. It's 2-1.
Rhythmic applause beginning. Irvin trying for strikeout number 7 to finish off inning number 7. He's got Benson 2-2. The wind, the kick, the pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. He struck him out with a fastball. Irvin strikes out 2 in a 1-2-3 7th inning. A strong bounce-back start from Jake Irvin here today.
So if not for the James Wood homer, the lead item from this game on Sunday afternoon would be Jake Irvin. If you caught the last installment of the podcast, we talked about how this start on Sunday afternoon actually was a fairly big outing for Jake Irvin, given that he was coming off back-to-back bad outings. Well, Jake Irvin on Sunday afternoon responded with an oh-so-good outing. Irvin in this 5-2 win over the Reds, 2 runs in 7 innings, 7 strikeouts versus no walks. So he was really good. Gave up 5 hits. Now, 4 of the 5 hits were extra base hits. He gave up 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and a single, but the 2 homers were 2 solo homers. He threw 100 pitches, 66 strikes, 34 balls. Jake Irvin, over his previous 2 starts, had combined to allow 13 runs, 12 earned in 10 innings. But Sunday afternoon, Jake Irvin was right back to being the pitcher he has been for most of this season. It was as if those 2 previous bad outings had not happened. This was the Jake Irvin who we have come to know this season.
And that was such an important thing psychologically, more than anything for him and for the team to see him do that. He got 2 extra days off with the All-Star break. He said that that was good for him just to take a break from it all. That was an exhausting first half for everybody. And for him, you know, first time up on opening day in the big leagues and pitching every 5th day, and a long first half that was 97 games, and the lack of off days, as we discussed leading up to it, he needed a little reset there. And what I loved was the way he came out of the gates in this one. First inning, 1-2-3, 10 pitches, 8 strikes, a couple of strikeouts. He winds up striking out the first 2 batters of the second as well before he gave up the home run. But I thought he set the tone right away. I'm throwing strikes. I have fastball command. I'm going to use my curveball off of that. And it was just kind of on cruise control the rest of the way. This was very reminiscent of him at his best in the first half of the season, and that was important. And he kept the pitch count down to allow himself to go deep in the game and complete 7 innings, which they desperately needed after using the bullpen as much as they did on Saturday night. So really could not have asked for a lot more from Jake Irvin, both in terms of what you wanted from this game, but also kind of reestablishing himself, the guy he was for the majority of the first half, showing that he can, in theory, still be that guy the rest of this season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between being in a rut and just having a few bad starts in a row. Mackenzie Gore right now is in a rut. Jake Irvin had a few bad starts in a row, but he bounced back on Sunday afternoon. And I think that really does stand out, that contrast, where Gore is at versus where it wound up that Irvin was at. Jake Irvin now, for this regular season, 21 starts, ERA of 3.44, a whip of 1.09, and then the Nats bullpen. So Davey Martinez, off having used 5 Nats relievers in each of the first 2 games of this series, only had to use 2 Nats relievers in this game, and the relievers were good. 2 scoreless and hitless innings combined. Robert Garcia, a scoreless and hitless top of the 8th, And Kyle Finnegan pitching for a third time in 3 games since the end of the All-Star break. A perfect top of the 9th on just 5 pitches for the save. I was wondering if Finnegan would be available for this game. He obviously was super efficient, and props to him. He ended up closing out each of the 3 games in this series. Excellent work by Kyle Finnegan.
And let's remember, he did not really have an all-star break, at least not the way you would normally expect one to be. He spends the first day of the break at Hershey Park with his family. He's in line for one of the rides and gets a call from Mike Rizzo. And I'm sure, given what happened to Hunter Harvey, his good friend, a couple days earlier, he thought, oh no, I've just been traded. No, actually, he found out that he was going to the All-Star game as a last-minute replacement. Has to get to Texas in time, gets there on game day, ends up as the only member of the NL staff that did not pitch in the game. But I asked him this, and I was curious, and he confirmed this. Had the National League rallied to tie the game or take the lead, Kyle Finnegan was going to pitch the bottom of the 9th in Texas in a save situation with the game on the line. In hindsight, maybe it's best that he didn't do that, because maybe that gave him just a little bit of extra rest and being fresh to be able to now go 3 in a row coming out of the All-Star break. I agreed. I was real interested to see how this would work bullpen-wise, thinking that he might be down. He made himself available. And the key there, as you said, 5 pitches. Get it done, get out of there. He really wound up having a good weekend. You don't see these guys go 3 in a row a lot, but if you're going to do it, I think he did it about the best you could ask for. Was 14 pitches on Friday night, 15 pitches 1, 2, 3 on Saturday night, and then, as you said, 5 pitches 1, 2, 3 on Sunday, and you have the off day Monday, so it does give him that chance to take a breather. I think we sometimes don't appreciate just how reliable this guy has been, and what a comfort that is for a manager to not even have to think twice about, who do I have to pitch tonight? Will he be available? And can I count on him to get the job done? I know he's had a couple of notable blowups, but he's still now 28 of 32 in save situations. And in vast majority of those, he's not getting himself into jams. He's been lights out. Whatever happens here in the next week, the 10 days with him, I think we have to give the Nationals a lot of credit. They developed a closer from within, essentially, over the course of a few years, and they've got themselves one of the best in baseball right now.
He has been terrific this season, and you would think the trade price for Kyle Finnegan is only going higher with what he is demonstrating. Now, with the Nats having the off day on Monday, do you think if they didn't have the off day, we still would have seen Finnegan on Sunday? It was a 3-run lead. It's not like this was a 1-run lead. Do you think the off day is what gave Davey Martinez in his mind the green light to use Finnegan for a third time in 3 days? Or even if the Nats were playing on Monday, do you think Davey would have used Finnegan anyway?
I think it would have at least give pause to think about it. And I don't know who else there really was, because a bunch of guys had to pitch a lot the last couple of days. Maybe Dylan Floro. This is the problem when you don't have Hunter Harvey anymore. You don't exactly have a proven backup closer there. On the one hand, you say, okay, they've already won the series, so you maybe don't have to go for it for the sweep. On the other hand, you know, hey, I have a chance to win a game. I got to take whatever I can to do it. I don't think the score, the fact there was a 3-run lead made any difference, because here's the thing. There were 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th to tie game when James Wood hit the homer. There wasn't time for anybody else to warm up at that point. Finnegan was warming. Even if it was a tie game, I think he was going to come in a 2-2 game to pitch the 9th. So I think it had already been determined, if it's a tie game or a save situation, he's going to pitch in this one. If they had a game Monday, maybe you don't do that because you're saying, well, we might need him. Now you do know you have a day off. It gives you that luxury of being able to go ahead and pitch him 3 straight days. But, you know, credit to him too. He keeps himself in great shape, and he's learned over the years when he's good to go and when he needs to say, no, I'm not good for that. And he told him, yeah, I'm fine. I can do this. And he looked great. I mean, there was no evidence of anything being off with him, any kind of fatigue in this one.
No, and 5 pitches. I mean, he probably could pitch on Monday, even without a game. Maybe in his backyard, he'll decide to throw some pitches. I mean, that was like one of the easiest, smoothest saves you'll ever see a guy get. So a salute to Kyle Finnegan.
Are you looking for tickets to an upcoming event? That's why you should download the Game Time app. Create an account and use code NATSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. You get cheaper tickets, and it helps the podcast a bit. Sounds like a smooth 6-4-3 double play. Again, create an account and redeem the code NATSCHAT for $20 off. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, Lowest price guaranteed.
Finnegan ready. He kicks and he fires, and a pitch chopped back to the mound. Finnegan leaps, he has it. He jogs toward first. He underhands it to Juan Yepez, and a curly W. And a 3-game series sweep of the Reds are all in the books here at Nationals Park.
No game for the Nats on Monday. Next up for them, a 3-game series against the San Diego Padres at Nationals Park. Game 1, Tuesday evening at 6:45. The Nats starting pitcher for this game is to be announced. Game 2, Wednesday evening at 6:45. Mitchell Parker will be the Nats starting pitcher. And Game 3, Thursday afternoon at 12:05. Patrick Corbin will be the Nats starting pitcher. The Nats don't have to use a 5th starter for a while, but it looks like they will be using a 5th starter come Game 1 of the series against the Padres. Safe to say it'll be DJ Herz who'll be called back up from the minors, or do you think it might be somebody else?
He's the only one that really makes sense. Jackson Rutledge pitched on Saturday and got lit up, so he's not available for that. Yohan Adon is not a starter at this point. He's a long reliever. So unless they've got something else up their sleeves that we're not anticipating, and I don't think you can do a bullpen game given how much they were used on Saturday, I've got to believe it's going to be DJ Herz. Now, I'm a little surprised. I mean, they don't have to make a move and have a 5th starter until Saturday in St. Louis, and I thought they would just use this as an opportunity to keep an extra reliever and give Herz more time to rest. But what this does do, this is actually the 4th game coming out of the break, so it's not really the 5th starter, it's the 4th starter. It's allowing them to give Mitchell Parker an extra day. And we have to remember that he needs some rest as well as a rookie who's getting up there in the innings count and probably not where they expected him to be at this point in the season. So it's not just about giving one guy extra rest. It's about giving all the young guys as much as you can. So that's why they're going to do it this way. I assume it's going to be Herz on Tuesday with Parker on Wednesday. And then it's going to be interesting to see how they manage this. Davey has hinted maybe a 6-man rotation eventually, but I don't think that happens until September. In the meantime, you've got guys who are throwing a lot, more than they have in the past, but you may have no choice but to put them out there and see how they handle that.
So you look at the Nats from a standing standpoint. They went into that final series before the All-Star break, the series at the Milwaukee Brewers, in which the Nats won 2 out of 3 games, 10 games below 500, 42 and 52. The Nats now, like I said earlier, are 6 games below 500 at 47 and 53. We now have, of course, 3 wildcard teams in each league. If you go back to last season, the 2nd and 3rd wildcard teams in the NL each made the postseason via 84 regular season wins. And of course, among those teams, the Arizona Diamondbacks, who ended up winning the National League pennant. The Nats at 47 and 53 to get to 84 wins this season would have to go 37 and 25 the rest of the way. That is a tall task, although, you know, after 19 and 31 in 2019, you never say never to any scenario in terms of a team making a charge toward the postseason. But do you think the Nats win total, do you think where the Nats are in the standings is going to influence how Mike Rizzo approaches this incoming MLB trade deadline? Again, it's less than 2 weeks away, July 30th, 6 p.m. Eastern. The fact that they traded Hunter Harvey would seem to suggest that Rizzo more or less has his mind made up. But the Nats have won 5 out of 6. If they do continue to win, do you think the calculus in Mike Rizzo's mind could change?
It would have to be a really sustained run here over the next 7-8 days, I think. This has been great to see, but they're still 4 games out with like 7 teams ahead of them in the standings. It's a lot. And I don't know that 84 wins is going to get you there this year. I know everybody's been bunched together, but you're starting to see teams get over the 500 mark. The Mets, the Padres, who have come here, and that makes this kind of a big series over the next few days. The Pirates have gotten hot and are over 500. I think it would be a lot to ask of this team to get to where that would need to be. And I don't think it's going to change a whole lot about Mike Rizzo's mindset approaching the trade deadline. I think their eventual win total this season could go a long way toward determining how ownership views the offseason and the 2025 season and whether they think they're ready to contend or not. So I don't think it's a problem for this team to try to chase as many wins as you can, even if it means you come up short in the wild card race. At the moment, 47 out of 100, 470 winning percentage. That equates to 76 wins. And I believe I had that going into the season, 76. If they get to somewhere in that range, I think that's enough to convince ownership, or you'd like to believe it's enough to convince ownership that they could be on the right track to try to win in 2025. But to get to where you need to be right now this year, I think they kind of already missed their chance the way that those final 2 weeks before the break went. Not to say that they ever really deep down from a front office standpoint felt like they were going to be buyers, but I think that sort of confirmed them that selling was going to be the way to go. And the moment you trade Hunter Harvey, it would be a tremendous reversal of approaches to now suddenly say, no, we actually think we're in this thing, and to change, how you're going to approach the trade deadline, even if you do get hot here over the next week.
It's a funny deal. The Nats, of course, had the number 2 overall pick in the draft last year, had the number 10 overall pick this year, because for this draft, they were not eligible for a super high pick. The Nats actually are back to being eligible for a super high pick for the next MLB draft. So you could argue it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if the Nats aren't going to make the postseason, that they actually lose a lot the rest of this regular season, continue to see young guys play well, but maybe lose like a bunch of one-run games, something like that. Wouldn't it be terrible to go into next season with the likes of James Wood and Dylan Cruz and, say, a top 2 or 3 pick in a draft? I'm just throwing that out there. It's something to keep in the back of your mind. If you're not going to make the postseason, it might not be terrible to not do so well the rest of this season. We'll see.
You know what, Al? One of these days, they need to actually try to win games. I understand what you're saying, but eventually you move beyond the rebuild, and the goal is to win. And I think, even though they know deep down that the playoffs in 2024 are probably a pipe dream, winning games this year does seem to matter to them. And I think psychologically that may mean more than the idea of getting just another great draft pick by, finishing with one of the worst records in baseball. I don't know psychologically how many people could handle another win total that starts with a 6 as opposed to a 7.
Yeah, well, maybe a win total in the low 70s. I mean, to me, there's no difference between having 76 wins and, say, 71 wins. I just don't see a difference between those two win totals. And it's a draft lottery, too, right? So you don't have to have the worst record to get the highest pick. But anyway, you tell us what you think. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can email the podcast, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on our website, natschatpodcast.com, in which you can purchase a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat, courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
2-2. Called strike 3, bottom of the zone, and Harlan Susana strikes out 4 batters in the bottom of the first.